Hey y'all, and welcome. You're listening to the Cowgirl Confessions podcast. I'm your host, Dakota Dawn Johnson, small-town cowgirl with southern roots, blazing a trail as a Midwest ranch wife, mama, and businesswoman. The mission of Cowgirl Confessions is to share the wonderfully wild and western life stories of cowgirls from all walks of life. We'll talk about the highs, the lows, and everything in between when it comes to navigating careers, cowboys, kids, and cattle. Legendary cowgirl Dale Evans said it best: "Cowgirl is a pioneer spirit, a special brand of American courage." The cowgirl faces life head-on, lives by her own lights, and makes no excuses. Cowgirls take stands. They speak up. They defend the things they hold dear. A cowgirl might be a rancher, a barrel racer, a bull rider, or an actress, but she's just as likely to be a checker at the local Winn-Dixie, a full-time mother, a banker, an attorney, or an astronaut. If you're into wet saddle blankets, talks with God, buckets full of laughter, and the life lessons learned in the process, kick off your boots and settle in. I pray these stories encourage, empower, and give you just the leg up you need. Here's to embracing the cowgirl state of mind, no matter how wild and western life may get along the way. Robert Collier once said, "Success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out." Y'all, this quote could not be any more fitting for the guest we have today on the podcast. Cowgirl Rachel Boyd is with us, and she is just a wealth of knowledge for all things in the rodeo industry. And that wealth of knowledge has come from her wearing lots of hats and stepping into roles. And, you know, she really understands and enjoys running the nuts and bolts behind the scenes, as well as competing. She's a wife, she's a mother, and I'm so honored to have her with us here today. Rachel, thank you so much for being here.
So glad to be on today.
So let us know, first off, what's something today, Rachel, that has brought you joy? I know before we kind of hopped on here to record, you were, sipping your latte, and you've been busy. It's been a whirlwind. So what's something that has brought you joy this morning?
Joy this morning, it would be being able to still work on rodeos, because, last year, we don't have to talk about it. It was crazy. It was, hopefully it's in the past. But, I got to come to work today, and I'm very lucky because my work is, we have an office inside my parents' house. So it's still coming home sort of thing. But I, started the day with thinking about which rodeos I was going to work on for this summer. So that gives me great joy.
Amen, sister. There's nothing like being able to get ready for that next rodeo. And let's talk a little bit about LoneStar Rodeo Company, your family's rodeo company, because there is so much history there.
There really is. My grandfather started it in 1949, and he moved basically from Marfa, Texas, which is why it's LoneStar's the name of it, and moved to Middle Tennessee, right outside of Franklin, Tennessee. And him and his brother began the first Franklin Rodeo, which I know you're familiar with the pro rodeo there now. But my grandfather, they actually started that, and that's kind of where it began. And nothing was like that done over in the East Coast. So it was definitely something new and fun. And then after he passed away, my dad took it over, and he ran it for 40 years. And I've grown up, I went to my first rodeo. I was 2 weeks old, and I haven't quit yet. So that's kind of, where we are truly family oriented. That's what we promote as family rodeo, because we are a family doing it. I grew up in it. Now we're raising our kids in the rodeo world. So it's definitely been a journey. Of course, ups and downs, but we've been able to keep over a 70-year tradition alive. So I feel very accomplished and very proud of that, for sure.
That is absolutely incredible. And, I've gotten to go and compete at your rodeos and also be a spectator and watch them. And what sets them apart, Rachel, is, it's not just, you've got the national anthem and some rodeo contestants. you guys really focus on putting on a show for the people in the stands that like maybe it is their first rodeo, and you guys do an excellent job. Can you tell us a little more about just about how all that comes together, and what made y'all want to focus on that aspect of it?
My dad always wanted to be a show. Like you said, he loved what drew people to the circus and things of different nature. Yes, it's about the contestants and the events that they have, but it could also be about a whole lot more. And what I've learned throughout the years, when you ask kids and you ask people, what was your favorite part about the rodeo? And a lot of people say the bull riding, of course, but a lot of them, it's not even any event. They love to see, the cowgirls dressed up if they were little girls, or our specialty acts, the rodeo clown. A lot of the times it's, all the other extra additions that we put on. So we've always focused on that. And it kind of sets it apart. Our kid events that we do before the rodeo, we really try to focus on that. Our opening pageantry has kind of always been one of our loves. And we've always tried to go above and beyond and tell a story kind of to kick off the rodeo, whether it's been, the years, counting through the years of the horsemen we did last year, or, we've tried something new. We've never done the same opening twice, actually. And it gets kind of hard year to year. We're like, what are we going to do this year? But we've always tried to find something new or something they've never seen before, and still try to find a time. The opening pageantry, people ask me what my favorite part of rodeo, and actually really is my favorite, is the opening, because for those few minutes, no matter what else is going on with anybody, in their lives or what they do, maybe they're struggling with something, but they get to come to the rodeo and they get to forget about all that. And we kind of provide them with a time to spend time with their family and do things together. They're not on their cell phones or their iPads or their tablets. They are actually watching live entertainment. And with our opening, no matter what, just like, you've carried that American flag before, that feeling you get when everyone's standing and everyone's together and singing the national anthem, and you're doing that in unity, no matter what anybody's background is. And so that's what we've always focused on, as far as making it, a show for everyone of any age is going to enjoy.
I so admire that, and just admire, how well you guys work together as a family, because we all know that, working with friends and family can be challenging sometimes. But I would really enjoy hearing more about kind of how everybody plays kind of a certain role to make this production come together, and specifically where your kind of niche is, because I know you've worn a lot of hats over the years, but what you're doing day to day, like in the office, and trying to get these rodeos from start to finish.
Yeah, I always joke, as I say, I never know how my dad did it all, because he used to do every part of it type. But of course, as things have evolved with computers and technology, he's kind of left that part behind. He didn't want to learn any of that. So that's kind of where we came in, or especially where I came in. But when he decided to retire, and my brother and sister and my brother-in-law, we all decided, we wanted to keep this going. It definitely did take those roles on, because just for instance, we had a rodeo this past weekend, and I really like certain rodeos that we do, from scratch, start to end. I will do everything from setting up all the advertising, the radio, the TV, the billboard, all the shopper papers, all that kind of stuff, all those ads. I take care of that. I really like seeing all the pieces come together and make it work. And then, but at the actual event, when it's going on, I'm focused on my ticket sales, having all the people lined up, your door watchers, who's going to tear a ticket, who's going to, sell the ticket, how are they going to walk in and see, that's the first thing people see when they walk up to the front door. So I want to make sure it looks good, looks professional, they have a smiling face, they're excited when they get there. That sort of process, needs to be good for them. And then once they get inside, making sure everything looks good when they see the arena. That's where, a lot of our guys come in that we help, we hire, they set up everything and get it looking good. And my brother focuses on the livestock and making sure all the animals are where they need to be. And actually, when the rodeo running that part comes in, my brother-in-law Clint, he helps with that, make sure everything is where they're supposed to be and all the people are where they're supposed to be. And that's why we talk about rodeo family a lot. And I know you've talked about it on here as well, but we couldn't do it without the crew and the guys that we have. And that we treated them all like family because they are. And by hiring people that that you can trust, it takes a lot of the weight off of myself and my brother and everybody to try to make sure, it runs smoothly because we know we can trust them to do their job. And so it makes it a lot easier. But for me, I really try to pay attention to those types of things. The people's experience, I guess you could say, is what I focus on and make sure, the announcer has everything he needs. The clown knows when to act, all of that kind of stuff. The secretary, I kind of line up all that. My sister, she's a big help. Her and we call her the comedy relief too, because she kind of keeps me from not stressing out as much. She keeps me smiling when I get stressful. But my sister and my mom, they have the souvenir stand, so they make sure everything's ready for that, for people to have a good experience. And some way or another, it kind of all comes together. And this past weekend we had an event, and I'm not quite sure how much of the rodeo I really got to watch. I would making sure people were getting in after it was still going, had started, but I had also run up the stairs to turn off the lights so our lighted flag, American flag, could come in. And then I'd come back down and help another few people make sure people were getting in the door. And then I'd run back up and turn the lights back on, and then I'd come back down and then I would check on everybody in between. So I spent a lot of time running around, but somehow or another, it all comes together and, we end up having a great show.
Well, you do that. I can attest to it. Like I said, for years, I've watched y'all. While there is without a doubt a lot going on behind the scenes, as you just mentioned, it doesn't feel like that when you're sitting in the stands or you're, back there loping your horse, getting to go, and I really always appreciated the fact too, with your rodeos, that because you're so focused on making them a show, that's honestly it's such an asset too, even to the contestants, because, like this rodeo is supposed to start at 7:30, like you're trying to run this through as smooth as possible. So it's not one of those that drags on and you're like, so when do I even need to go warm up my horse? Like y'all just keep things running in a very professional way. And, when we were visiting earlier, we were chatting a little bit about all the things that come along with doing this job that you have, that a lot of people probably never crosses their mind. And it's the stuff that's not really fun, but it has to be done for you to run this business. Can you share some of those with us?
Oh my goodness. Yes. It's, I never knew it either growing up. I watched my dad try to run it all and do it all, and he did it very well. He was on the road a lot. And luckily that's kind of one of the things that the growth of technology has helped me. I still have to be on the road, but I can do a lot of things, by email now and calling and sending stuff out and not have to be gone as much as he did. But just a few of the things that are not so fun, I call them not so fun because they still have to be done, but at least it still comes to make it to where the rodeo works. But, the big trucks that we have that take our chutes and our bleachers and, well, not our bleachers, but our bucking chutes and things of that nature back and forth. You have to make sure your truck tags are up to date, and lovely fuel tax and things of that nature has to be done every quarter. And you have to, keep up with the website, and you have to sales tax for where you're at and selling tickets and things like that. It's just a lot of extra stuff that even after the rodeo's done, I have to follow up and make sure that it was taken care of. But I'm also, while I'm working on that one, I might be working on one 2 months from now, trying to set up when those TV ads are going to start, when the social media ads are going to start, try to worry about who's going to have a live remote there and things of that nature. So it's a lot of, actually, when you had Sarah Neal on, she was talking about her time management. I was thinking, man, I need to work on that probably a lot better to be able to get that better. But yeah, exactly. I was taking notes as well, trying to figure out, I really need to work on that a lot better. But somehow or another, it all, tends to get done. And, we have meetings in between the week, trying to get new events, new rodeos and new committees, things like that. So it's a whirlwind, but somehow it all works out.
So I have a question kind of from the contestant side, and for anybody listening that hasn't called in for a rodeo or entered a rodeo before, Rachel, maybe you can give a little more information on this entry system. But, there's a lot, 10 years ago, you sat on hold forever trying to get into a rodeo. And since then, there's been a lot of different, avenues of how people are trying to enter and stuff. But how do y'all still handle your entry system and people getting called in? I used to love being able to hear yours or Vanessa's voice, and knowing y'all are going to take care of get me up when I needed to be when I would call you guys. So how does that work, and what do you feel like are, kind of the direction maybe y'all are headed in the future, or pros and cons with the way it used to be and some of this new technology entry system stuff?
This is one of the things that actually we are still very old school on. I still do it like my dad did, as far as call-ins like that. And some contestants don't like it and some of them do, but I feel like you still have to call in. So I think last week, one of my friends sent me a screenshot, they'd called 230 times, before they got to me. But it's one of those things where I still feel like I'm able to give that personal touch to, where a lot of those call-in systems and things like that, and they do great for people that have, multiple rodeos going on at the same time and things like that. But I'm not able to help the contestant out as much, I guess is the best way to put that, because a lot of the times when we have performances, and then we'll have a certain slack that we have. So obviously you can only take so many in a performance, but if there's somebody that needs help, that says, well, I cannot get there, until such and such time, or I've got to have the perf so I can make it somewhere else. And that's kind of where sometimes I feel like those automated systems or the call-in systems can't give that personal attention to, because in the end, I want my show to run good, and they want, and I want them to be able to understand what it's like to try to make 2 rodeos in one night sort of deal. So if I can make things easier that way, I sure don't want to turn out on my side, after they've posted the draw. I like for them to know exactly what they're going to be in when they call in. So if they tell me they need the slacker, if I tell you you're in the perf, that on that Monday. And if that doesn't work for you, you can draw out then, or you can say, okay, I can't come till next, we'll catch you down the road. At least there's, that little bit of sense of, I know what I'm going to do right then. And that way there's less confusion on the weekend sort of thing. So that is one of the things that we still do old school. I still take the call-ins on the Mondays, the week of usually. And I don't know where we'll go with that. I haven't really found a solution that I like best for that. And personally, I don't like to pay to have to call somebody to enter a rodeo. So that's kind of kept me from some of those automated systems as well. But I don't know. We'll have to see what the future holds. Right now, we're just glad to be having rodeos back, and I'll gladly be answering, all day long if I have to,
That's
to get
right.
them in.
Well, and like you said, there's something about being able to have that personal touch, and as well from being on the competitor side. Sometimes when you call, you just want to know that you're feeling very confident when you've gotten off the phone and talked to somebody about you are going to be up in the perf or the slack, or are they going to run 8 or are they going to run 10 in the show? And I never had to worry about that when I entered, the LoneStar rodeos, because I got to talk to one of you, and you were very, very clear on how that operation would run. And so that kind of brings me to my next question, Rachel. let's talk about you on the competitor side and kind of, how you grew up rodeoing, what your favorite event is and what that has looked like, since, you've transitioned into being a mom and still being a competitor.
So when I was little growing up, my dad was back then we didn't have the breakaway roping event, it was just the barrels for the girls. So I remember actually when I was 8 or 9, I had a trick horse act. We all had to perform at some point or another in the rodeo. My sister used to trick ride and do things. And I had a trick horse act, and he also doubled as my barrel racing horse, which we weren't very fast, but it didn't matter. I was young. He'd always let me exhibition, of course, and run the barrels. And so as I was growing up, if I had a barrel horse or something, it was a pickup horse, that I turned into a barrel horse. Vanessa and I both had that a lot of the time. And then whenever Vanessa actually got with Clint, her husband, he was the one that actually taught me how to rope. And we tried to have real rope horses, I guess you could say, that he would train and let Vanessa ride and stuff. And they were actually wonderful, and they would haul me around to a lot of rodeos and let me enter when we didn't have a rodeo we were doing. But whenever I got older and the roping was more of a good event and, really catching on, we joke and say that, it's been happening in the Southeast, the breakaway a lot longer, than the rest of the country, apparently. But we've always had breakaway roping around for quite a while. And I got to participate in that quite a bit. And then when I met my husband, he trained calf horses and was doing that as well. So my sister always joked and said, you need to date him, because at least you'll always have a great horse, to ride or whatever. That was always our joke. At least we'd have a great horse. So he has wonderfully done that, kept me in amazing horses, and been able to help me still be able to compete. Because once my children and I started doing more and more with the rodeo company, even to this day, I literally, if I get a chance to enter, some of them I don't if I'm too busy, but some of them, if I do, if I get a chance to enter, I'll literally climb over the fence, tie my rope on, rope my calf, bring her back to, Bradley, and then I'll get off and go right back to either the ticket booth or to time or whatever it is. So he keeps me being able to jump on a horse and rope. And then if he's not able to be there, then Vanessa will let me, borrow her horse or something. And so it's changed a lot, being able to ride my own horse or, lope. I don't know what it's like to lope them and get them ready, at an event. And that was actually what was so funny about, we were talking about when I finally got to go to the American semifinals, and I was there and I actually did get to lope the horse and sit on my horse and wait, watch I guess the second day reversed order, and Vanessa and I were close to the front. So we watched the 400 go, before we got to rope. And that was a whole different aspect for me, because I hadn't had to do that in a long time. And it was a nice difference, it was fun. And I was glad we actually got to do that together, my sister and I, to compete. And then of course, my best friend, Jill Tanner, we got to do that. And we were laughing. We haven't gotten to rope together since college. We used to college rodeo together, of course, with you, Dakota, we did too. And we both independent rodeoed. She went to Vanderbilt and I went to North Alabama. So we would get in together and go. And just like that, because my family would be at a rodeo somewhere else, I didn't get to take a horse. So Jill would let me ride her horse and rope. And we would, so it's still kind of the same thing. I was always jumping on a horse, I guess, to rope, but we got to do that together. And that was a whole lot of fun and brought back a lot of memories for sure.
Whenever you made that post on social media about you and Jill, just getting to have that experience, I got all teared up and emotional about it, just thinking, it just took me down memory lane, like you were just talking about those days of college rodeo and those friendships you forge, and then just how how precious that time is, when you get it on this end. Once, you know how busy life is, being a mom and a wife and running a rodeo business or whatever business somebody's running. It's a lot to juggle. And so it just made my heart so happy to see y'all together. And then obviously, like, she went on to win the American, and I can't think of like a more humble person. It's just absolutely incredible. And I know you are so incredibly proud of her.
Oh my goodness. Yes, I was. And we've always supported each other no matter what avenues. She quit roping for a long time, and she started a boutique and all these other things. And, we were always just kind of in each other's corner back to back. And when she did it, I was in tears too. It was amazing because, like you said, there couldn't be a better person for it, and more humble, and a great person for our sport. It's somebody we can look up to also, and be proud of, for standing up for and winning the breakaway roping event and where it's going. And it was kind of like that. I was kind of sentimental like that all day, because since we college rodeo together, you and I, a lot of the people were there. There were a lot of people that were there that were competing or doing, that we rodeoed with. And back when we were in college, you never thought about that we'd all, kind of cross paths again, or be around each other that way. And it was like with Andy getting to announce and him getting to announce Jill, I thought that was kind of neat too, that no matter what, like you say, what aspect or avenue you go in your life, rodeo family or the people that you meet and learn are always going to be, in some shape or form, kind of comes back around. And that's just super, super neat, because there's a lot of businesses or sports, that may not take that route. So I thought that was really, really cool.
Yeah, it's so neat to just see how far, the sport of breakaway has come. But I tell you, and this will kind of lead into talking more about yours and Bradley's performance horse business. It not only has it been exciting to see where the Cowgirls breakaway has gone over the past decade, or 15 years even, but what it's done for so many other parts of our industry, from calf horses and breakaway horses to giving people like Andy more opportunities and events to announce at. I mean, there's just a array of things that I feel like it has done nothing but had a positive impact on. And so on the horse side of the business, can you tell us more about that, Rachel, and kind of what y'all been building, but then also the success that you've had recently in Houston?
Yes, we have been very blessed with horses. Bradley grew up in a horse background as well. His dad had run West Kentucky horse sales for 30 plus years. And so he was usually always getting on something, riding it, getting it, making it better for a couple months, and they would resell. And that was his life on it for a while. He's, done a lot of competing in lots of different avenues, not just roping. And so he decided, we hadn't been married maybe a year or two, and this stud came through that he just knew he wanted. And he was telling me, I want to buy that horse. And of course, trying to be the supportive wife, I was like, okay, but then you're also like, how are we going to pay for this? That sort of thing. Yep. Where you're always trying to be responsible, but he never says that usually. He's always smart about his horse sense and being able to tell what has potential or not. And so this 3-year-old stud came through, and he was like, I gotta have him. And I'm like, okay. So we figure out how to get him, and it has been a long journey, but it's something that he's always known he's wanted. He's always wanted to raise and train and, make them good show horses. And we've been very blessed and very lucky, and he's done just that. He's actually had 2 studs that him and his dad have bought and made into world champions. He shows strictly the American Quarter Horse Association. So in the world show there, every year we go, and he's won in the junior tie down and also the seniors. So he does have a knack for picking those studs. And we actually have a new stud that's very young that we hope will be along the same path as Hitman. It's MH Boone is his registered name, but we call him Hitman, is what everybody knows him as. And we have raised over, probably anywhere from 40 to 50 babies since this stud was, we started breeding him as a 3-year-old. So of course, as the time, after you breed them and foal them, and of course you can't, it's 2 or 3 years before you can actually, start to train and perform. And so he's been doing this for a very, very long time, but it's been great to finally see, the payoff of it, as far as when he won the world. And then actually the same year that he won the world on Hitman in 2018, he had to compete against 2 of his other offspring. He had 2 babies actually that he had to compete against in the same class. So that was kind of neat. There's just been some crazy stories like that, and recently here in Houston, he had 3 of his babies. Of course, he won the senior and second reserve on both Hitman babies. And then he had another one in the junior class that won 3rd. And then, so I guess there were actually, there were 4 total, I guess, of all Hitman babies. And Hitman had been in that class before when he took him back a couple years before that in Houston. And so just to see the journey that's been on, and it's been long, but it's been very rewarding. And as you know, like you were saying, the horse business, it's kind of went up, it's went down. It's always, all over the place. But yes, recently with the Junior American and the American and all these new ropings and qualifiers and all this sort of thing, they actually did a deal about, I think it was in the Team Roping, one of those ads, talking about how the industry has raised so much, and they thought, certain factors would hurt it and it would go down. But actually, because there's so much need and want for these horses at these ropings, and the payouts have gotten so much bigger, that they're willing to pay more for these types of horses. And so it's really been interesting and a lot of fun to watch. Now it's almost, in demand, trying to find more of them that you can make and train. So it's been really, really great. And it's been a lot of fun really to watch and do. And we're very lucky that some of the shows we get to take the kids with and go. And sometimes I have rodeos and he's got horse shows, so we're opposite ways. But a lot of the times, if we can, we try to do that together.
Well, without a doubt, I mean, it is a family affair, from the very beginning. Like you said, you being like, all right, babe, let's do this. Let's step off and do this. And now, 10 years or so later, watching all this come to fruition. And I love that story, and hearing how proud you are of him and how all this has come together. And what would you say are some of your favorite kind of Hitman, qualities in his babies for the people listening that maybe they're not familiar, with kind of that bloodline and stuff, or that breeding? What are some of the things that y'all really strive to make sure those babies have, and that you love about them?
Yeah, if you've ever met him, you'll never forget him, because he is very, very unique. He's not your biggest stud you'll ever find. He's kind of shorter, stockier, but he's built like a tank, and he has the sweetest disposition. He's not your normal stud horse. I guess what a lot of people associate with a stud as being, kind of rude or rank, or you can't, have your kids around, or that sort of thing. And it actually, he's very funny in the breeding process. He's takes his time. He likes to nuzzle on the mares. He's kind of a ladies' man, we call him. And he loves the Taco Bell, the Cinnabon things. Those are actually his favorite treat. Okay. Now that we've kind of retired him, as far as showing him, we still breed him and everything, and the kids, ride him around still. But just at Houston, we come back and he doesn't so good, so we have to go buy him some Cinnabons from Taco Bell and treat him, because he doesn't even know, what his babies did. But he's just got a sweet disposition, and he has this beautiful mane, and and tail that he kind of gives all of his babies. And the best thing about his babies have been that they're so easy to train. From, you don't have to show them a lot of things, multiple times for them to pick it up. You can usually, from the first time you saddle them and work them in the round pen, you can step up on them. There's been many times Bradley will say, get on this 3-year-old and let me see. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to get on him yet, and he's like, no, he's fine, I promise. And, the 5-year-old that I have that I really liked, I ran barrels on at Houston also. And he showed the next day in the junior, he hadn't really tied that many down on her yet. He's really good about knowing how much to push them and when to pull back. And he has a lot of confidence in them. And they kind of let you have, when you ride them around, you kind of know that they're going to do their job. They like to perform, and they like to do. And then, they're not kind of just, we don't usually trail ride a lot of them unless I, start them out as babies or whatever, but they like to have a job and like to do it, but they're also so easy to handle. We could probably count on a few hands of how many actually bucked or gave us issues or problems, and that sort of thing. So he just really, really passes on some great qualities, that you want in a horse, besides the performing side of it as well. You want to be safe to put your kids on them. And we have a lot of them that are like that too, that our kids ride as well.
That is so cool that, because most of the time a stud, you don't put kids and a stud in the same sentence. I mean, most of the time.
That's
so
right.
The fact that they can be around him, and he's just got such a great disposition. Sounds like he's real easy on the eyes and gets the job done. So congratulations on just all the success that y'all are, reaping after years and years of hard work getting to this point, Rachel. And I want us to talk now about really what this podcast is, kind of all about, embracing your cowgirl state of mind. And over the years, I know that you and Bradley and your family, y'all have walked through, you've been through some trials and tribulations, but you have just really put that cowgirl state of mind to action. And if you could, just share with us some of that you've walked through and what the cowgirl state of mind means to you.
Yeah, cowgirl state of mind means perseverance, I think, and adapting to what you're dealt with. Because there are a lot of times, even in a situation in rodeos, whether it's weather or, things come up, and you just have to figure out how to do it. There's no quit in it. You just have to either figure out how to work with it, or, it doesn't work at all type of thing. And so I would say that's what comes to mind with me most when I think about a cowgirl attitude, and, never giving up and always, pressing forward with my personal, trials and everything like that. We won't go in too deep, but, our first child was a preemie. She was born at 27 weeks. And so, right away, we were dealt with, all the issues with that. And actually, it was the night before I was supposed to be at a rodeo. And so, our family, of course, came together tenfold. When that happened, everybody jumped in to help, rodeo family and blood family. But we made sure we got through that. And I made sure she was in Nashville for 3 months while I was, back and forth. So I was literally there every day with her. And then if we had a rodeo, I would drive to wherever, and then I would come back. So, but I never had the doubt of, which of course, God always has a hand in everything. And, I know you talk a lot about that on your other shows, how God plays a part. And I was never under the impression, I guess I wasn't necessarily naive, but I didn't know. There wasn't ever the thought of she wasn't going to survive, or that I wasn't going to make it through it. It was just put one foot in front of the other and, do what had to be done. And then my husband, Bradley, had broken his pelvis back in December of 2019. And so that, of course, put a halt in a lot of things. And then, of course, our rodeo family and horse family came together like in no other. Memories were popping up on that not too long ago. on my phone of some posts I'd made, and it was really heartwarming. I mean, they had done fundraisers for us through the horse world, you know, via Facebook, and we had ropings and things of that nature. And I remember, you know, thinking, of course, people in normal jobs, you know, they look at us and think, why do we do that for a living? Or, you know, they know it's a risk. Why would you even take that risk? You know, not of someone getting hurt or things of that nature. And, you know, we all know the risks of everything we do, but that's, of course, not going to, you know, keep us from living or trying to fulfill our life and do the things we do. And so I think that's why the horse world or the rodeo world really relates to each other so well, because even though we're competing and you know, trying to beat each other or things of that nature, we're still trying to, you know, still all of the same goals.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're one of those that you can look to, and you know you're gonna get the job done, and you're gonna push through and persevere, and just the epitome, Rachel, of what a cowgirl is. And I've really enjoyed getting to visit with you and let you share your story with so many people on here today. Where can everybody go to, you know, keep up with you and your beautiful family, as well as, you know, LoneStar Rodeo Company and your performance horse business?
Yeah, LoneStar Rodeo, of course, has a website, LoneStarRodeoCompany.com. We have a Facebook page and an Instagram page, so you can definitely follow us on that. It's Facebook is LoneStar Rodeo Company, and then our Instagram is LoneStar Rodeo Co. And then as far as myself and Bradley and his horses is Boyd Performance Horses. And on Facebook, you can find us both Bradley Boyd, and then I think mine is Rachel Fowlkes Boyd. Because I remember Facebook, like you back in the day, you couldn't have it unless you were in college. And
Yes.
So whenever we first transitioned, and I remember I got married, they wouldn't let me change my name. Like it had to be hyphened. And so, and then I've never just went back and changed it. So that's how long I've been on Facebook. But yeah, you can find us on there, and definitely, you know, follow us along our website. We try to update all the time on the rodeo company, kind of tell us where we're going and what's coming up and that sort of thing.
Well, again, just really enjoyed visiting with you today, and looking forward to following along. I think one of y'all's next rodeos coming up will be the Limestone Sheriff's Rodeo in Athens, Alabama. That is one of my all-time favorite rodeos. Great athletes that show up to compete there. And so for any of you listening that could, you know, maybe make it to that rodeo, check out on their website when that rodeo is in May, and be sure to put it down. It'll be a great family fun event for you to attend.
Yes, tickets are actually already up on our website for sale. That is by far, just like when you go there, when I go there, it's family. That was actually my first rodeo I went to when I was 2 weeks old. So actually Miss Deb held me, kept me so my mom could work. So it holds holds my whole heart there too. So.
Oh man, rodeo family like no other. Well, Rachel, thank you again, and I hope you have a great rest of the week.
Thank you.
Thank you for spending your time with me on the Cowgirl Confessions podcast. I'm so glad y'all stopped by. If you could take a moment to share this episode and tag us on social media, I'd be happier than a cowgirl in a sea of buy one, get one vintage turquoise. Subscribe to make sure you don't miss an episode. New episodes will be released bi-monthly. Please leave us a review if you feel so led by going to iTunes. Your feedback will really help us breed the idea of grabbing life by the horns with a cowgirl state of mind into women across the globe. Some that may have never even had the privilege to throw their leg over a horse, but could most certainly use the cowgirl state of mind while navigating life. Thanks again, y'all. Until next time, keep pursuing your dreams with that all go and no woe mentality. Remember, you're writing a story that's worth saddling up for, sister.